So, what a lot of leaders don't realize is that what they need to focus on when they first step into a leadership role is learning as much as possible about the people who they are leading. And so, what I'll do at the end is I'll give you a really good example of how you can use this to give effective feedback. But first, what a leader needs to do is understand, okay, well, how did I get into this position? And there's a couple of ways that generally occurs. There's the step-in leader, where the leadership role was thrust upon them, maybe because the previous leader left, or had to take a long period of leave. Maybe they're the promoted expert, so maybe they were really, really good in their position, and again, maybe the leader left, but they were the natural next fit for the role based on the fact that they were really good at doing the job. Maybe they're like the chosen visionary type, and so the person has always had a knack for seeing the bigger picture and inspiring others, and so it was a natural progression into that leadership role. Or maybe that person was always the aspiring leader, and that was always their goal, to move up into that leadership position. But look, why does it matter? First and foremost, understanding how you got to where you are is going to help you navigate and put forward a strategy that will allow you to build trust within your team. If you are someone that was just thrust upon the role and maybe other people didn't expect that to happen, then that's a different approach to if everyone saw you as the aspiring leader and knew that you were potentially going to be the next person to pop into that role. And so that's why that matters. But once you've sorted that out, the single thing that I would focus my attention on and my time on is the onboarding of my team. And I say onboarding of the team. These people have probably been there and they're existing members of the team. But yes, you're onboarding them onto your team. It's a new team under your management. So what has occurred in the past is set aside, and this is your opportunity to use the blank canvas and paint a new picture for your team. So yes, you're essentially onboarding your team into your management style. And the way that I would do that initially is to invest as much time as possible into getting to know each individual team member. It's so important that you don't underestimate how much time you should spend getting to know your people. And this is, getting to understand what makes them tick, getting to understand what gets them out of bed, what motivates them. Is it money? Is it job stability? Is it security? Is it status? Understanding what their ambitions are. Are they happy to just earn a paycheck, or do they want to move and progress through their career and through their role? Understanding, and this is an important one, getting to know what type of person they are. How do they learn best? How do they communicate? How do they like to receive feedback? What type of language resonates with them? And then you'll get a feeling for what type of role they want to play in the team. Are they a supporter? Do they like to play a supportive role and helping other people? Are they a superstar? Are they the LeBron James of the team, where they're the overachiever and high performer? Are they the motivator? Are they the ultimate teammate who picks everyone else up and helps everyone around them perform at that extra 10%? And just as an FYI, the supporter or the motivator are just as important team members as is the sole performing superstar. And there's so many other things that you need to learn about your team and the individuals in your team, but they're just a couple of examples of what I would really spend a lot of my time doing, in getting to learn the individuals in my team. Then I would take this information and I would build a pretty extensive profile of each employee, and this profile will really underpin every interaction that I have with that person, because that is how you take a genuine interest in a person's life and have that understanding of what it is that drives them and motivates them to perform and work hard for you. If you underpin all of your interactions and your conversations with what is important to that individual, they will really appreciate that you are someone who is a force for good in their life, and they will reciprocate by working really hard for you and doing what it takes for them to excel in their role, but ultimately to make you look good as well. And so, as I mentioned, I'd provide a quick example of what this might look like. And this is going to be a very simple example, very basic. And it's obvious to me that you'll come across more complex, situations throughout your leadership journey. But something that pops up, quite often in leadership is, say, for example, you've got a top performer that continuously rocks up late to work. Now, that conversation could go something like, look, I understand you perform really well in your day-to-day and I appreciate you very much. The team loves you, you're doing a great job and your performance is outstanding, but you're just not coming into work on time consistently, and that's a problem for me and for the company, because as you know, it's a part of our standards and requirements that people come into work on time. If we let you come in late, that sets the expectation that other people can come in late. And so if you do come in late again, sadly, I'm going to have to deliver you a warning, whether it's a formal warning or a verbal warning, whatever that may be. Versus if you frame that conversation with that person with the understanding of who they are and what's important to them, you could say, look, I know that it's really important for you to progress in your role and to be promoted, and you're really looking to taking that next step in your career and maybe moving into a management role. What you need to understand is that unfortunately your current inability to turn up to work on time consistently is really hurting your ability to take that next step in your career, because one of the most important things as a leader is leading by example. And so if you're unable to show up to work on time, can you see how that could maybe hinder your ability to move up and take that next step in your career? And so as you use what's important to that person to deliver the message, it hits here for them in their understanding of who am I and how can I control how I move throughout my career based on what's important to me, versus just being told you show up late, that's against our company rules and I'm going to have to give you a warning. It's just something that becomes a little bit more intrinsic to that person and a little bit more important to them, in that it's actually them who owns what's important and their development of their career. And then it's up to them how they may want to change that. And then you can go into what we call a grow coaching discussion, which you look at what is the goal. Maybe the goal is getting moved into a management role, right? So the goal for the employee is to get promoted. What is the reality? Well, the reality is that there's some behaviors that could potentially hinder the ability to grow or to be moved into that management role and to be promoted. Okay, so what are some options? In that point, you would discuss with that person, okay, well, what's going on for you here that's causing you to not turn up to work on time consistently? And what are the options that we have to mitigate that? Allow them to come up with the options. And then what we do is we decide, and when I say we decide, you have that person decide, okay, of the options that we've come up with, which one is the most feasible, which one's the most practical for you to actually put in place so we can overcome this current challenge. And then The W in grow stands for will, and to move forward. And so you close it off by saying, okay, great. So over the next couple of weeks, do you agree to take the option that you've selected and put it into practice? And what we can do is we can come back together in about 2 weeks' time, or a month time, or whatever is the time appropriate gap, and we can assess how you're going. And just as an FYI, if for any reason something pops up that means the option you've chosen is no longer viable or possible, what I want you to do is come to me first. I don't want you to wait for 2 weeks' time or a month's time when we've got scheduled time in to assess this to let me know that something is stopping your progress. I need you to let me know as soon as it happens, so then we can make the adjustments we need. And that's how you take getting to know the individuals in your team and using that information to frame every conversation and interaction you have with them, to help them be motivated into sometimes doing things that aren't always pleasant things to do, the tough parts of the role that not everyone is excited and jumping out of bed to do. Thanks for listening.